A lot of you are moving to Buffalo from all across the country. I think I probably moved up more people from California, Las Vegas, and Texas in the last 5 years than, in Florida, than any other cities, right? But all of you guys are coming with different personalities, what you want to look for in a community, walkability, whatever you're comfortable with or want to look for a fresh start for. This video is really going to help you kind of break down those sections of Buffalo. Now remember, Buffalo is going to be a lot smaller than a lot of the cities that you guys are coming from, right? So when I describe these different areas, these areas are going to be very close to each other. I'm talking about 10 to 15 minutes apart, but are going to be totally different. And because of the past of Buffalo, because of how it used to be so segregated, but becoming more and more diverse, slowly but surely, it's getting a lot better. These areas are going to look vastly different from, it could be a 2-block radius to just a town over basis. So I'm going to match not only personality types, but also what these neighborhoods kind of have to offer and where most of you transplants are finding yourselves in based on, again, what you guys are looking for. So let's get into it. Let's start with the city itself. More people are starting to want that walkability. I love that, especially when you can drive 2 minutes to a place and get everything you need in a certain plaza, or if you can honestly just walk outside your door, hit the grocery store, the pharmacy, and grab a drink on the way home, I think that's probably one of the best places to live. Only thing about me in that regard is I don't want to live inside the city. If a suburb had that, that'd be amazing. Villages are too small. I don't know. It's contradictory, I know. But either way it goes, inside the city, most people want that walkability. A lot of places or a lot of sections of Buffalo is starting to really offer that. The most famous is going to be Elmwood Village, right? Elmwood Village, everybody hears about it. It's walkable. You have everything you need on Elmwood, but there's a lot of traffic, right? You're always gonna have people. Yes, it's stuff to do on the weekends and during the weekdays and after work, before work, if you wanna go to the cafe, but you're gonna have the homeless man, I always say, and you're gonna have the $1 million man on Elmwood in South Elmwood. It's just one of those things. And when everybody goes out, because you're so closer to Allen down South Elmwood, you're gonna have even more traffic. And what I mean by traffic are those inner city problems, especially now that Allentown is really taking a turn, not for the best, but it's kind of getting more eerie down there. It's a lot more things happening. I got a couple clients right now that we're helping actually come out of Allentown because of so much drama and inner city problems that's going on in there. I remember I went out in Allen this is probably 2 years ago now. And only one of us drove, which is cool. Had a designated driver because we was all drinking, being smart. But all our keys, our house keys, our car keys was inside the vehicle, right? And we put them in the glove box. It wasn't like we just left them out. Long story short, we come back from Allen, having a couple of drinks, having a good time, and our car is broken into. Well, my friend's car was broken into. It wasn't mine. But either way it goes, y'all know to replace a key fob these days, it's like $400. It's crazy. So needless to say, Allentown is really starting to take a turn right now. But what is nice, and people are starting to pay attention to, is coming into that Upper West Side area, coming right off Richmond, right outside of Elmwood Village. Because Elmwood Village is very, very, very expensive to live in. I just sold a house in Elmwood Village, literally probably 5 houses away from Elmwood. $850, right? Everybody's not in that price point. But on the west side now, it's still affordable. Becoming gentrified like a mug, but it's still a melting pot for a lot of people. I mean, you have all types of ethnicities in communities on the west side, even in that Elmwood Village or coming off the Elmwood Richmond Avenue area, but you're also coming off Niagara too. The west side used to be heavy Hispanic, which it still is, but there's a lot of people really, it's been a melting pot probably for the last 10 years or so, but it's now taking that $200,000 house or that $150 house that was probably 6-7 years ago, that can now be flipped and that's selling for $350, $400, especially if it's a double, right? A lot of houses on the west side are double. A lot of people are flipping them and they are They're beautiful, they're older, right? But it's becoming more and more expensive, especially for the first time home buyer or the average price point in the city of Buffalo, which is only about 200,000, 225. But these two areas, the west side coming off Niagara more than the upper west side coming off Five Points or something, around that Richmond area. And North Buffalo is always going to be the top two walkability areas in my opinion, especially coming off Hurdle Avenue. People sleep on Hurdle because, again, it's mostly doubles over there. I've seen some people now starting to convert those doubles into just singles because they want that extra space and they want that extra bathroom upstairs. So that is also a thought too. But those are going to be the top three areas. A sleeper to me is always going to be South Buffalo. In between that Seneca, North Legion area around Casanova Park, they starting to build a lot more things. You've seen a bunch of cannabis spots going over there, but you also have the cast going over there. You also know Blackthorn, Dog and Pony is over there. On the opposite end, you have Doc Sullivan's if you're coming off Abbott. I don't know if DA Taste is still over there, but I think they relocate. But you have a lot of other things that you can definitely walk to. Now, with that South Buffalo area, yes, it's a hidden gem, but it's still in the works, right? It's not there. Seneca is not there just yet, right? You still got some drunks walking up and down Seneca. You still have, some homeless people. It's definitely not as nice as North Buffalo or anything, but I really believe, in my humble opinion, that 5 to 7 years from now, that South Buffalo area maybe 10 years from now is going to really start to reflect that Hurdle Avenue, especially once people start to buy up those shops down there. And because of the Outer Banks, you're closer to the Outer Banks, Tiff Park. You have some things going on in that South Buffalo area. It still is a hidden gem to me, but it's definitely not there just yet. Now, when you come into the suburbs, right, the places I just named, again, inside the city, you're going to find that diversity, right? So if you're looking for diversity specifically and you really want that, like you want to see any and everybody that you can once you walk outside your front door, you're going to live in a city, right? You're going to have the older houses. You're going to probably do a little bit more work, but that's where you guys are want to be if you want that walkability and heavy diversity, right? The suburbs are going to be the suburbs of Buffalo. And here's really where the segregation really starts to play from the past, but again, is getting better. Cheektowaga is that next step up out of Buffalo. So if you want that suburban feel, right, it's definitely suburban, right? And you want more diversity, or the most diversity you're going to get inside a suburb, you're going to go Cheektowaga 14225 and the side of Cheektowaga that's 14215. And then you're also going to have South Amherst, or that 14226. Now, not all of South Amherst is going to be diverse, right? This is really where we start to play that fiddle of where it breaks the diversity per se inside the city of Buffalo. When you get to Amherst, it's not diverse outside of that 14226 zip code. And even once you really break out of Snyder, or you really coming off Maine and Harlem, once you kind of get out of there, Buffalo becomes, I don't want to say non-diverse, but it's just not as diverse in the suburbs as many of your suburbs. So like in Atlanta or a Texas, when you guys are coming from there, or a Florida, you don't have that same diversity in the suburbs in Buffalo as you do from a lot of the city, especially you Californians out there that's coming to Buffalo. You don't have that, right? You just don't. Now, is it bad? Do I believe things are going to happen to you or anything like that? No, right? That's not the case, but it's just not as diverse as many people or want it to be, especially, and I'm specifically just talking about from you guys that's coming from these major cities with suburbs that are diverse. When you just want that true suburban feel though, now you're talking about Amherst specifically. Clarence is a little more country suburban, but Amherst, Tonawanda, those are really going to be, North Tonawanda, those are really going to be your true suburbs, right? You're talking about those boxy houses, 1980s, 1990s, some in the 60s, but that's going to be your true suburban vibe out there. So Amherst, you're looking in 14221, 14228. East Amherst is more affluent, so you're probably talking about, minimum probably out there 600,000, 700,000. Clarence is the same way. I think that Clarence average price point is 557, 560, something like that right now. So once you start to branch out northeast or south, now you start to really get in those country suburban type of settings, right? So to just recap that, inside the city, you know, northwest side, north is going to give you that walkability. South Buffalo is coming up on a walkability, and then your west side is definitely coming up on your walkability. The east side, people sleep on the east side. The east side is not as bad as everybody makes it seem. There's some parts, don't get me wrong. There's some parts on the west side you stay out of too. But east side, I just hate that we have been neglected for so long. But that's another story for a different day, right? The only thing about the east side too, though, is to me, you get the best transportation as far as public transportation on the east side, right? So it's fascinating because it's just fascinating. That's another topic for a different day, but we've been neglected for so long on the east side. But to me, you get the best public transportation on the east side to get anywhere around the city than any spot inside the city, in my opinion, right? Anyways, now if you want that true suburban feel, you're gonna go your Amherst, you're gonna go your Cheektowagas, right? If you want a little bit more diversity, you're gonna go Cheektowaga more than anything. Now, when you want to go south, where they get a lot more snow, to me, the South Towns is all country suburban to me. I mean, you talking about Orchard Park and Hamburg, for instance. You're gonna have, those are towns, right? With with little villages inside, right? Lancaster is the same way. East Aurora is the same way. They're trying to make those towns into, especially Lancaster and East Aurora, for example, they're trying to have that like East Aurora vibe. It's hard to replicate that. East Aurora is a dope place to me if you want to go that far south, right? Those towns down there are that little village, you know, town around it, and then you have that kind of country suburban element to it, right? Nice, safe areas, nothing wrong with it. But those are really going to describe the kind of different sections that you're going to have inside the Buffalo area. So depending on your personality, depending on what you want for you and your family, or just you by yourself, that's kind of how people are starting to look at Buffalo and where they want to be. Now, as always, my name is Devonta Davis, the local realtor in and around the Buffalo area. If you guys have any questions about this, let's jump on a call. Hit the Zoom, we'll get you guys up here, and in that way, we'll be able to start to dissect where you guys are thinking planning-wise, and then we can map out everything and reverse engineer, and we can get you guys going. Because the next video after this is actually what and how you can really start to map out from 6 months all the way down to 30 days from you guys moving here. All right, so look out for that video, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.